Welcome back. After last video's massive drama, it's time for something a little more fun. While the car has been really great, it has been a little boring in terms of the sound it produces, as the exhaust and the intake are still completely factory original. Well, I guess the exhaust is probably an aftermarket replacement after so many years, but whatever, that'll be a different video. I got the cheapest induction kit off eBay. As soon as the turbo stuff goes on, the whole thing becomes absolutely useless. So I didn't want to spend a lot of money on it, but I do want to have all the nice induction noise for a while at least. There's plenty of these available, but all the major brands like K&N and similar are insanely expensive for what it is. It is really just a metal tube with a filter on the end, and I have no desire to pay like 300 plus euro for this. So hence the cheapest possible stuff off eBay for some temporary fun. So let's take a look at it. So this is the entire kit, two tubes, a massive filter, and some couplers and clamps and stuff like that. Yeah, I didn't want to mess around with anything DIY, as well, it needs space for the temperature sensor and stuff like that. And well, this has everything that is needed. There's a connection for the breather pipe from the top of the engine and for the temperature sensor. And in between these, the mass airflow meter will go, and the filter goes on the end, of course. Obviously, this is purely for sound and driving fun, if you will, because this in no way will ever give any actual performance benefit. In fact, since this will be relatively close to the exhaust manifold, which is probably the hottest part in the engine bay, this may even be slightly detrimental, but whatever. This is just temporary, and the noise is worth it. So I will attempt to make a before and after of both the engine bay and a little driving piece, as the real sound only comes under actual driving load. I don't know if I can really manage, because the audio equipment I have is very, very basic, but I will give it a try. So I will merge the before clips somewhere, and let's go put it on the car. Okay, should be pretty easy. I just need to remove this whole thing and all of this, and wedge the mass airflow in between, and transfer the temperature sensor. Yeah, let's start. The engine's pretty warm, as I was just driving, so hopefully not too bad. Okay, that's one piece. Now, let's see. That just pulls out. Let's unplug the MAF for now. let's see, where is this mounted? Looks like one over here, the big bolt down there, and what looks like it was supposed to be a bolt is a zip tie. And now all of this comes out. You just gotta see how the MAF is mounted. It looks like it's these two bolts. Don't see anything else, so now would also be a good time to clean this with some spray. Unfortunately, I can't seem to locate it right now, so I'll do that another time. There seem to be no issues with it anyway, so for now that should be no problem. Looks like the smaller piece goes on the throttle body. The hose clamps appear to be, at least be stainless. That's nice. This might be a very tight fit. I might have to trim that piece. Maybe I can get away with it. Now obviously red is not matching my theme. Unfortunately, the cheap sets are only offered in red and blue, neither of which is really working. And the red one was cheaper, so red it is. And since it's on there only for hopefully maybe half a year, it's whatever. I didn't want to spend additional money getting some black ones or something like that. Okay. Now the mass airflow should go in between. It's important to keep the airflow in mind, otherwise it's not going to work, or at least not properly. No. Let's not forget the hose clamps. Okay, attach the other piece on this side. With the clamps. Now this one can go on. There appears to be a mounting point attached I'm not entirely sure where it's supposed to go. The bracket for the power steering looks like it might work, but it is ever so slightly too far away. Maybe if I force it in a bit. I guess that one might work. That would never hold that additional piece. Of course, there's no instructions with them. Why would there be? Well, that seems to be how it should sit. Unfortunately, I have no clue where this is supposed to attach. And if it isn't attached, it's hitting the power steering reservoir. So obviously that is no bueno. Yeah, I can't find any images where you can actually see how it's mounted. And maybe if you twist it weirdly, that might work, but the thread is so short there's no way you could fit this on there. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think it has to do with my reroute hose, even though it clearly is kind of in the way. Well, I took out that bolt, and it was an M8. Mazda seems to love M8 bolts. I had a spare one, so I guess it is supposed to go over there. But now there's very little space. Like this in itself no longer fits in between, and it still needs the couplers as well. So I don't know. This doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It's very weird. Work in progress. Okay, I shortened this coupler by a bit, and with some force it now fits. It is really wedged against the reservoir, but there's no movement, so it's solid. The whole fitment's pretty garbage, but I guess that's to be expected for such a cheap product, and well, it doesn't really matter as long as it works. So I connected everything. I did swap this rubber grommet with the original one, as the one that came in the tube didn't really hold the temperature sensor properly. Yeah, I hooked up this breather hose, and yeah, well, let's fire it up and have a listen. You can already hear the metallic suction. Hopefully the microphone will pick it up. Yeah, sounds pretty good so far. I will make a proper check later. It's getting kind of late and I'm hungry. I'm doing this after work because I was excited. So, yeah. Okay, stuff installed. I hope I managed to capture the difference well enough on the recording. Unfortunately, my microphone equipment isn't good enough to put it in the engine bay where it would really capture the difference. I tried doing that, but The recording is just super distorted and clips like crazy. Maybe in the future I can find something for that, but I don't want to invest too much money in that portion, since, well, it is just for fun. Yeah, as mentioned throughout the video, the fitment is not good. The product itself, I would not rate it very highly, but sound and fun factor, absolutely up there, 10 out of 10. Yeah, it has this super nice growl. It sounds, well, like a sports car, I guess. Super pleased. So join me next video, where we'll quite literally work on the other end of the sound. Catch you there.